What if trying to stay young turned into a nightmare? A TV star takes a strange drug to look younger, but it turns her into a horrifying creature. The movie starts with a close-up of an egg yolk being injected with a strange green liquid. The yolk then splits and forms an identical copy of itself. The scene then switches to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, focusing on the star of a celebrity named Elizabeth Sparkle. As time passes, fans initially surround her star, but later, people begin to forget about her. Elizabeth is the host of a TV aerobics show called Sparkle It Up. One day, when she can't use the women's restroom, she goes into the men's room and hides when she hears someone coming. She overhears Harvey, the network president, talking about wanting to fire her now that she has turned 50. Later, during lunch, Harvey, while messily eating shrimp, tells Elizabeth that she's being let go. On her drive home, Elizabeth is upset when she sees her billboard being taken down. Distracted, she gets into a serious car accident. At the doctor's office, a nurse tells Elizabeth that she's a perfect candidate after examining her. The nurse secretly slips a flash drive into Elizabeth's jacket. As she leaves, a man named Fred approaches her, someone who remembers her from high school. He tells her she's still the most beautiful woman in the world and eagerly gives her his phone number, although he seems too forward. At home, Elizabeth watches what's on the flash drive. It promotes something called the substance. A voice explains that the substance allows users to switch between their younger and older bodies every 7 days, letting them experience life as a younger, better version of themselves. Though initially unsure, Elizabeth, feeling lonely and missing her past fame, eventually calls the number provided and is given an address. Elizabeth receives an ID card and goes to a shady building down an alley, where she finds a deposit box with her number on it. Inside is the substance. She goes home and injects the green fluid. Soon after, she collapses in pain as a large slit opens on her back. A younger, beautiful version of Elizabeth emerges. She stitches up the wound and uses a stabilizing fluid to balance both her new body and the old one. The young woman starts calling herself Sue and impresses Harvey, quickly earning a spot at Elizabeth's former network. Sue loves the attention and spends her first week full of energy. However, when she turns back into Elizabeth, her life feels dull and uneventful, with her only task being to collect her remaining things from the network. When Sue transforms back, her new fitness show gets picked up full-time, and Harvey agrees to accommodate her strange schedule. Sue also builds a hidden room in the bathroom to store Elizabeth's unconscious body while she's in her younger form. The noise from the construction annoys a neighbor, but when he sees Sue is a beautiful young woman instead of Elizabeth, he backs down and unsuccessfully tries to flirt with her. Sue goes out for the evening just hours before she needs to switch back. She brings home a guy named Troy for a hookup, but right before they get intimate, she gets a nosebleed because her time as Sue has run out. Desperate for more time, Sue recycles a stabilizer tube and takes more fluid from Elizabeth's body, extending her night with Troy. When Elizabeth wakes up, she notices that her right hand looks older and frail, a consequence of staying too long as Sue. She calls the number for the substance, only to be told that the damage is permanent and that she must follow the rules to maintain balance. She's also reminded that Sue is not a separate person, but still just Elizabeth. After getting her refill kit, Elizabeth goes to a diner where she sees an old man with a birthmark, identical to the nurse who introduced her to the substance. The man warns her about the negative effects of the younger version, asking if Sue has started eating away at her yet. Terrified, Elizabeth runs out. As she leaves, Troy, who is picking up his motorcycle from her building, angrily yells at her. Elizabeth decides to call Fred and accept his offer to go out for dinner. He is thrilled and makes a reservation. However, as she gets ready to leave, she notices the billboard for Sue's show staring at her through the window. Distracted and feeling insecure, Elizabeth keeps going to the bathroom, repeatedly removing and reapplying her makeup. Frustration and bitterness eventually take over, and she cancels the date without contacting Fred again. While filming Sue's show, She messes up a scene because she feels something bulging against her back. Elizabeth, feeling uneasy, tries to cover herself and leaves the room before the playback begins, hoping it's nothing serious. She goes to the bathroom and painfully pushes a lump up her leg and out through her belly button, which turns out to be an entire chicken leg. Sue also calls the helpline to complain about Elizabeth's overeating and drinking habits, frustrated that she barely has time to enjoy her own life. Later, Sue goes to the studio only to find that her show's taping has been canceled. She confronts Harvey, who tells her that she's become so popular that they want her to host a New Year's Eve special. Sue happily agrees and selfishly takes more time away from Elizabeth. When she finally returns to Elizabeth's body, Elizabeth looks even older and more frail, with her legs barely functioning. Elizabeth tries to distract herself by using a French cookbook Harvey had once given her as a patronizing gift. As she cooks, she watches Sue appear on a talk show, mocking Elizabeth's old TV show. Elizabeth's resentment towards Sue deepens as she watches her younger self live the life she wishes she still had. In response to Elizabeth's unhealthy habits, Sue spends the next 3 months extracting fluid from her, turning the area into what looks like an infected sore. When Sue tries to use the fluid one last time, it appears necrotic. Panicked, she calls the helpline, and the voice on the line informs her that her allotted time for using the young body has expired. She is told the stabilizing fluid will only reset when she returns to Elizabeth's body. Left with no choice, Sue reverts to Elizabeth's body, which has now become a grotesque, hunchbacked monster. Elizabeth decides to put an end to the substance. Although stopping it won't reverse her current state, it will allow her to live the rest of her life as she is. She prepares a black fluid intended to kill Sue and begins injecting it into her chest. However, Elizabeth hesitates before using the full syringe and pulls out. Sue wakes up, face to face with her older self. In a rage, Sue attacks Elizabeth, smashing her face into a mirror repeatedly and eventually beating her to death. Afterward, Sue heads to the network to prepare for the New Year's Eve special. But her body starts to fall apart, her front teeth fall out, her fingernails peel off, and her left ear slides off. Desperate, Sue rushes home, searching for a way to fix herself. She finds a vial of activator fluid, meant for one-time use, and injects it, hoping it will give her another young body. Instead, it creates a horrifying creature called Monstro Elisasu. The monster has multiple limbs, teeth, breasts, and Elizabeth's struggling face grafted onto its back. Monstro returns to the network, with Elizabeth's face cut from a poster taped onto its body and squeezed into one of Sue's dresses. As it walks toward the stage, the face falls off, exposing its monstrous appearance to the horrified audience, including some children. Harvey tries to stop Monstro, attacking it with a mic stand and blowing its head off, but the head quickly regenerates. Monstro's arm then falls off, spraying the audience with a fountain of blood and covering the room in red gore. Monstro eventually leaves the studio, but collapses outside, splattering into nothing. From the mess, a fleshy mass emerges, with Elizabeth's original face still attached. She slowly crawls toward her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, gazing up in joy as she imagines sparkles raining down on her. Smiling one last time, Elizabeth dissolves into a puddle of goo. By morning, a floor scrubber washes away the puddle, leaving no trace of her behind. Thanks for watching Real Recaps. If you enjoyed this recap and want to see more thrilling stories and twists from the world of film, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Share your thoughts on the movie in the comments below, and let us know what film you'd like me to cover next. Also, check out more movie recaps by choosing one of the videos suggested on the screen now. Hope you enjoyed the recap. Catch you in the next reel.